Hello, and welcome to Deep Dive Through Music. On this channel, we'll be taking closer looks into the history behind some of the events leading up to our favourite music moments throughout our time. Our focus today will be on the legend Dr. Dre and the iconic Chronic album. Before releasing his critically acclaimed album, Dr. Dre had already played a pivotal role in putting West Coast rap on the map as a member of the notorious and gritty rap group NWA. However, it's his 1992 project, The Chronic, that catapulted Dr. Dre into a rap superstar and also as one of the best producers in music, period. The project also helped elevate Death Row Records as a force to be reckoned with in the music business and introduced the world to stars such as Snoop Dogg, Nate Dogg, Lady of Rage, RBX, and the famous group Daz and Corrupt. Dr. Dre had previously made himself a staple in hip-hop by producing albums for Eazy-E, the DOC, JJ Fad, and Above the Law. Dr. Dre had also laid down some verses on NWA's second studio album, F.L. for Zaggin', the same album that furthered the feud with Ice Cube, with very direct lyrics on the song, Always Into Something, which is coincidentally the same track that Dr. Dre had tested out the iconic G-Funk sound. However, in NWA, Dre had always been seen as a weak rapper because he didn't have the aura of Eazy-E or the rhyme skills of Cube and MC Ren, which is why we're going to take a look at the story leading up to Dre becoming a rap superstar and the Chronic taking over hip-hop. Towards the end of 1991, Dr. Dre had left NWA for pretty much the same reasons that Ice Cube had left 2 years prior: unpaid royalty fees for all the records that Dre had produced. Dre had claimed that during the creation of NWA, Eazy and Dre would be business partners, but as we all know, Jerry Heller got into business solely with Eazy-E and had tried to not let the other members of NWA know the full extent of their contracts. MC Ren claimed that before the breakup of the group, everyone had got into cliques. Dr. Dre was very close to the DOC and spent a lot of time with him following his accident in 1989. So the DOC and Dre looked for a way to go into business by themselves away from Ruthless Records and to find a record deal that Dre could be properly paid from. That led them to Suge Knight. Suge Knight had been working as a bodyguard for celebrities such as Bobby Brown, and word was spreading throughout the industry that Suge Knight would get whatever he wanted by any means necessary. Just ask Vanilla Ice. Suge then started a management company where he acquired an up-and-coming DJ Quick and the DOC as artists. The DOC and Dr. Dre told Suge about Dre's unpaid royalty fees. Legend has it that Suge took it upon himself and threatened Jerry Heller and Eazy-E with lead pipes and baseball bats to make them release Dre, the DOC, and Michel'le from their contracts. Suge got his way and Eazy begrudgingly signed the release forms for all three artists. However, a few years later, Eazy would find a loophole through Jimmy Iovine and would retain a percentage of the royalty fees from Death Row Records. In July 1991, Dr. Dre, the DOC, and Suge Knight founded originally Future Shock Records, which was then renamed Death Row Records at the start of 1992. Dre was given a publishing deal by Solar Records and a $1 million advance to start working on creating his debut album, 213. The 213 crew consisted of Warren G, Snoop Dogg, and Nate Dogg. Warren G was almost always in the background during Dr. Dre's NWA days, and Dre often recalls seeing Snoop hustling around NWA during those early days. Warren G and Snoop had tried giving Dre their mixtape, but Warren G doubts even to this day whether Dre even listened to it or just thrown it away. At the start of 1992, Dr. Dre, Warren G and Snoop were all at the same bachelor party. Warren G took it upon himself to play a 213 mixtape at that party. Dre immediately took a liking to Snoop's bars and arranged for Snoop to go and record with Dre. Dre had been given a chance to record the soundtrack for the 1992 film Deep Cover. Dr. Dre let Snoop hear the beat for the track, also named Deep Cover, and Snoop freestyled his verses, to Dre's shock. The song was released in April 1992, and that was Dr. Dre introducing the world to Snoop Dogg. In Snoop's own words, Dre turned him from a good rapper to a great rapper. At the start of the recording process for The Chronic, Dr. Dre enlisted the help of the DOC, the 213 crew, Daz, and Corrupt, whom he had invited to stay at his Calabasas mansion, as Dre had nobody living with him at the time. As Dr. Dre recalls, the guys would just be kicking it at the mansion, smoking and just freestyling, and this often helped give Dre ideas and inspirations for the tracks on The Chronic. Dre would also host pool parties at his mansion, and the vibe of the crowd would also give Dre numerous ideas for his beats and lyrics. Despite Dre not being regarded as a good MC, he was very skilled at producing albums and also developing talent, as we had seen in years before with Eazy-E and the DOC. Dre now had another chance to showcase even more diverse talent on this album. Snoop and Daz excelled at the laid-back, smooth gangster talk, whilst Philly native Corrupt was a hard-hitting and clever lyricist. RBX, a cousin of Snoop and Daz, was a product of the Good Life Cafe freestyle scene and rhymed with a ferocious snarl, while Lady of Rage was a Virginia-born lyrical genius with a rugged flow. Lastly, Nate Dogg is perhaps the best gangster-influenced rapper-singer hybrid to ever grace the genre. Each of these artists received multiple moments to shine on The Chronic, and each delivered. The fact The Chronic was literally made by a few friends chilling out, recording music, partying, is what makes the album that much greater. It's not like Dr. Dre had planned to change the course of music and have the West Coast dominate music for that certain period of time. It just happened through good vibes, seeing firsthand the social climate at that time, and making hits that just sounded cool. On December 15th, 1992, Dr. Dre released the Chronic album and wasted no time going straight into the beefs he had at the time with the single Dre Day. He made sure to let everyone know how he felt, and even had Snoop inherit the beef and backed Dr. Dre all the way with his line, "If you step to Dre fool, you stepping on death row." In this diss track, Snoop and Dre target Eazy and Jerry Heller, Tim Dog, Ice Cube, and 2 Live crew founder Uncle Luke. Arguably the strongest single on the album is Let Me Ride, with Dre making it known no medallions, dreadlocks or blackface, it's just that gangster glare with gangster raps. Dre tells us that this heavy synth, G-funk infused album won't be littered with the activism that his predecessors had in their albums in the 80s. It's a new era, a gangster era, and Dre's making hits for the hood to feel good and kick back. However, no record on the album better captures growing up in LA, listening to Parliament Funkadelic, listening to feel-good Motown music, seeing firsthand the 90s intense social climate from a young G's perspective than the hit single Nothing But a G Thing. Released in November 1992, it was the perfect, laid-back, calmest gangster track, and along with a music video, offers outsiders in suburban America a peek into a regular day in South Central LA. Personally, seeing the video as a youngin' for the first time, I instantly thought that this was the coolest thing I'd ever seen, and that was decades after its release. It's the end of 1992 and the whole of 93. The album plays tremendously well on the Billboard charts, at a time where hip-hop was still seen as an outcast when it came to the Billboard charts, and wasn't seen as marketable as other pop or rock artists. The album reached its highest position of number 3 on the Billboard 200, and number 1 on the R&B hip-hop charts. Perhaps the crowning moment of the whole album was the Grammy win for Dre and Snoop's performance of Let Me Ride. Nothing greater than taking a Grammy back to the hood. All in all, The Chronic has been widely regarded as one of the most important and influential albums of the 1990s and one of the most well-produced hip-hop albums of all time. The album was also given 4.5 mics by Source magazine, which put it on the brink of being an instant hip-hop classic. Time magazine states that Dr. Dre created a sound that defined early 90s urban LA in the same way that Motown defined 60s Detroit. That's why this album will always remain a great, vitally important album, and as a whole, pure hip-hop rider bliss. And this is how 1992 was the year The Chronic took over hip-hop.